Hey guys, AJ here back with another one for you. So, I've been kind of looking at the whole Korea Japan population decline over the last couple of months, and I was reading over a couple articles, and it made me realize that if modern women don't change their ways, they're going to end up like these leftover chicks in Korea, in Japan, and somewhat in China. Okay? So I have an article here that says elderly women in Japan prefer being in prison to being alone. Yes, guys, you heard that right. So we're going to get into this, guys. Before we do, like, subscribe, drop a comment. It really helps keep this channel going. Check out my lives, guys, and check out my second channel linked in the description. Before we look at this, guys, there's an article here that has some statistics, okay? And this is why people in Japan are being single, are ending up single, okay? Look at this. Why Japanese men are choosing single life. I'm going to do a video on this by itself. And look, this guy says right here. So the author says, sat next to me on a bar stool, drinking his craft beer, is Riku Inamoto. He's what's called a confirmed bachelor for life. For him, this is a big time factor. He says, I have two things in my life that take up all my time: work and my hobbies. I can't stop work. So if I get married, I will lose my hobbies, which means I will have no fun. That is a terrible life. Is not the most based statement that you've ever heard? Is that's not a guy just summing up like what the best parts about the bachelor life are? Okay? So this is a guy who's pretty much plans on being single for life, and he's okay with that. See, men are more okay with being single than women are. He says, I like having my own time and space and being able to make my own decisions, eat what I want, go where I want. I have married friends who look so old now. They don't seem so happy. Why would I want that? Now let's look at some numbers really quick. He said only 30% of men in Japan are active when it comes to romance. This doesn't mean that 30% are actually getting sex. In fact, 42% of single Japanese men ages 18 to 34 claim to be virgins. This means that only 30% are even trying to date, which by my calculations leaves a staggering 70% as passive, meaning 7 out of 10 Japanese men make no effort to date whatsoever. Think of that, guys. Now you might be asking, AJ, what does this have to do with elderly chicks in Japan? Well, if 70% of Japanese men aren't even trying to date, that leaves a whole lot of old chicks out there. Because this is young men, but this is older women too. Okay? We have a lot of older women that are choosing to get divorced in Japan. That used to not be a thing. And now we have all these older chicks who, look, elderly single women are finding a new way to stave off loneliness. They're getting thrown in prison. More than 4 million elderly women are living alone in Japan. Twice as many as men. There it is. The older ladies are increasingly finding accommodations, companionship, and medical care behind bars. So this is an older generation where they were married more. So it's going to be 10 times worse for these younger women. And this is going to happen here, guys. If things don't straighten up, there's going to be a whole bunch of boomers and Generation X chicks this is going to happen to. Because I've done my whole series on these divorced delusional broads. These boomers, these chicks that are in their 60s that have decided, I'm going to get divorced after 35 years, skee-lee-dee. And they find out, you know what? There's not that there isn't grass on the other side, is that that's not that the grass is greener, is that there's no grass at all. Okay? Okay. At Kasamatsu prison, 1/5 of more than 300 women prisoners are at least 65 years old, prompting prison officials to enlist younger inmates as caregivers. Clown world. Said, I was alone at home, said one 76-year-old inmate who's serving her second shoplift sentence. It was harsh. I felt miserable. I cried. See, the inmate, identified only by the pseudonym Takeko Suzuki, raised 2 children and once sold cosmetics at a department store, but ended up alone and isolated after losing her husband and becoming estranged from her 2 children. So I don't know what happened, but she pissed off her kids something fierce, and now they aren't talking to her. In prison, she's no longer alone. Suzuki has gotten treatment for dementia and spared hard labor due to the age and frail health. So she is given small manual tasks. Like Suzuki, authorities say that many of the aging men inmates opt for petty crimes like shoplifting to escape the tedium of living alone in Japan. Shoplifting makes up 83% of crimes committed by women 70 or older in Japan. One 85-year-old inmate with no pension and nobody to turn to turned to help and took to shoplifting after her savings ran dry, completing an 18-month sentence. And there you go, guys. This F-ism has taken over Korea and Japan. You have all these chicks working, but they're doing these jobs that don't allow pensions or all this other stuff, and they run out of money. Just like the late, great Kevin Samuels said, what are you going to do to live ages 65 to 85? How are you going to make the money, right? Look at that. The ancient inmate was placed in aftercare facility where she celebrated her 85th birthday. Officials have increasingly turned to aftercare programs to cut down on recidivism among elderly inmates. But the trend has put a strain on jailhouse resources, forcing prison officials to train younger, healthier inmates as caregivers for their grayer cellmates. Look at that, guys. Look at that. This is going to happen more and more, guys. I'm telling you. It's going to start happening here. We have boomers, guys, that are, in their 60s or 70s on TikTok saying, I'm single, I'm strong, I'm independent. All this bullshit, right? And pretty soon they're going to start trying to walk out of Walmart so that they can end up in jail and get 3 hots and a cot. So, guys, let me know what you think, because this is going to be a thing. So, all right, you guys, this is AJ. I appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, and I'm out of here. Have a good one, guys.